In today's episode, I'll discuss the cheapest suburbs worth buying in the Sunshine Coast. It's an interesting area because it's kind of like, I'd say most people from Brisbane would see it as their holiday hotspot, rather than the Gold Coast being, I'd say Sydney and people from Sydney and Melbourne's kind of hotspot. Not many people kind of go to from Brisbane here on holidays. And it's also quite a hot retiree location, but it is also developing over the years. And so particularly in the last 10 years, it's actually developed quite well. So a couple of things I'm going to get into today. First of all, where the top performers have been. Second of all, the factors driving growth in the Sunny Coast. Third of all, what the minimum purchase price of the Sunny Coast is. And finally, what the cheapest suburbs worth buying are, being high-end, mid-priced, and lower-end. Let's get into it. Look, the Gold Coast top performers really are pretty much along the coast as well, similar to the Gold Coast, and they're kind of between, I'd say, your main pockets of the Gold Coast. It's kind of all around sort of Mooloolaba and Alexandra Headland, really. And also, should I say, if you count, this does count Noosa as well, mind you. So I also do include the main parts of Noosa, so that, should I say, the bridesmaid areas of Noosa. So you'll see here, Majimba, Dicky Beach, Sunshine Beach, Minyama, Moffat Beach, Alexandra Headland, Sunrise Beach, Markula, Bina. So they're all kind of around those main pockets, you'll notice. Coolum obviously is one that's a little bit further, but it kind of sits between the two. So look, in the Sunny Coast, it does have similar factors, I'd say, to the Gold Coast, just probably in a little bit of a different order. So first of all, like all areas, demographics do matter. And for those who haven't watched any of these episodes before, I'd suggest watching Factors Driving Growth of Key Fundamentals of the Market. On previous episodes I've done, just search on my YouTube channel, you will find it immediately. Demographics is the most important factor in literally all of the regions of Australia. And I'm telling you that right now, so that's not going to change, and it is in the Sunny Coast too. Probably a little bit different to the Gold Coast. I've got restriction of supply and lifestyle basically switched from the two because, look, lifestyle does play a part in the Sunny Coast, and it is one of the strong factors, but restriction of supply does sit probably a little bit more important. And again, like to demographics, restriction of supply is one of the most important factors in any region. And I'll tell you the reason why it is just on the Sunny Coast perspective. It's because in the Sunny Coast, it is kind of only developed really along the coastline. You'll notice like pretty much anywhere from, I'd say, Majimba the whole way up to, Sunshine Beach, it's pretty much just hinterland the whole way along there, except for pretty much Coolum and probably Perigian and along Perigian, should I say, along there. That's pretty much the only area it is developed. And even I'd say if you look at Bina the whole way down to kind of Pelican Waters, there's only kind of like one or two suburbs on the inside of it before you hit bushland. So you really want to be in suburbs where supply is completely restricted, because these other suburbs, for example, like Caloundra West, will have new estates going up in them in the future. Like Caloundra West still has new properties being sold, to give you an idea. So that's just something to consider. As I said, lifestyle and access to facilities are another. So not all pockets of the Sunshine Coast have good access to lifestyle and facilities. And by that, I mean not only obviously your cafes and restaurants, but I also mean things that people need, like your healthcare, like your, should I say, specialist care, those things like that too. Employment is another thing. Employment, I'd say it's a little less dependent on tourism in the Sunshine Coast. Has a little bit more of a diversified sort of, I'd say, employment base than the Gold Coast, and prices are a little bit cheaper. Not to say that in saying that the GDP of the Sunny Coast probably isn't as strong as the Gold Coast, but obviously prices are slightly cheaper, so you take that in consideration. And also existing infrastructure. So that also does play into facilities or should I say access to them, and employment as well. But infrastructure is a large thing in the Sunny Coast because there's not much in some of these newer sort of pockets. You pretty much have to drive everywhere, even to cafes and restaurants and that kind of thing. And also, I'd say the main roads are pretty shit around those new areas. They can be choked up quite a lot, whereas in your main areas, you can kind of get around fairly easily. There's also quite good, I'd say, public transport, not awesome, but quite good public transport in some pockets of the Sunny Coast compared to others. So definitely things to consider in the Sunshine Coast. Look, similar to the Gold Coast, your minimum purchase price really here is around 900k too. You probably could have bought for, 550 to 650k similar in 2020 or 2019, depending on where you look. But really, in essence, that's kind of your minimum purchase price you need to get into. And saying that your top end suburbs of the sunny coast really, I would say, are a little bit cheaper than the Gold Coast, but that's kind of the minimum purchase price you're looking into. Let's get into some of the cheaper suburbs worth buying in the Sunshine Coast. And the suburb I'm going to start with is Caloundra. So for those that don't know where Caloundra is, it's basically south of the main section of the Sunny Coast. It's kind of on the point, I'd say, of the Sunny Coast before you hit Pimicestone Passage. And really what I'm saying there is, look, Caloundra is one of the, I'd say, more livable suburbs in the Gold Coast, and it's probably, in my opinion, your cheapest suburb that is actually along the coastline of the Sunny Coast, or should I say, the ocean coastline of the Sunny Coast. And it's got quite a good kind of, I'd say, feel and sort of town centre, and it has quite a few apartments there too. But for what you're getting in terms of $1 million, it is very cheap. And look here, to give you an idea, you can see where sort of Caloundra is here, and you'll see an article just off the Sunshine Coast website, Calandra's cheap, laid-back coastal lifestyle. And look, it just says locals guide to why you should move here. And look, you can see just there alone how beautiful it is. If for someone who likes the coast and also has a family or something like that, or wants to invest and has a family renting there, it is quite a good location because you've obviously got the surf beaches just nearby, but you've also got the safe passage there where it's quite safe waters. So it's quite a safe area for kids, I'd say, to play around too, which is a good thing. Another suburb is Watala. So Watala's just kind of north of Caloundra. It's about 3-4 k's north of Caloundra. And it is obviously a beachside suburb like this. So it's a beautiful beach area. And look, in my opinion, it's probably one of, I'd say, the quietest beaches in the main section of the Sunny Coast. And it has quite good surf there too. So for people that like surfing, not bad there either. So definitely something to consider. There. Here's just a idea of what it kind of looks like, and this is just from an article from the local newspaper. Watala offers seclusion, so it's within the Kawana Waters precinct and halfway between Caloundra City and Mooloolaba, so that's basically the location of it. Look, if you're a surfer and love that coastal lifestyle as well, or love just a quiet coastal suburb, it's really good for that. It's not overly far from, I'd say, Caloundra or obviously Mooloolaba, so kind of your town centres there, which is good. So for those that like sort of their peace and quiet, I'd recommend somewhere like Watala. Let's get into some suburbs that are a little bit more expensive, and a little bit more expensive, I mean like $1 to $1.5 million. So look, the suburb I'm going to mention here is a suburb called Mooloolaba. Most people would understand that Mooloolaba is the centre of the Sunny Coast, and this is kind of what it looks like. So Mooloolaba is kind of like where the beachfront is, and basically Mooloolaba really, I'd say, is like where everything kind of is, where everything happens. It's kind of like, for people in Sydney, it's probably like your Bondi kind of the Sunshine Coast, or your Brighton for people in Melbourne of the Sunshine Coast. And look, really, you'll see here, this is just off another domain article. So this is just what someone says. Working on the beachfront, I get to witness Mooloolaba's irresistible coastal charm unfold daily. I love to watch residents take advantage of the gorgeous weather and beach, of people ocean swimming or paddling at the crack of dawn, even in the winter. So look, it's funny enough, I actually know a few people who used to be in Newport Surf Club that actually end up moving either. They generally move to Northcliffe or Mooloolaba, I've generally found. And that's just for training. And like I said, the water's actually quite warm up here. Even in winter, it's like literally 20 degrees. So quite nice even in winter, which is crazy. Good weather all year round too, so nice area. For those that love kind of living near sort of more, I'd say, metropolitan lifestyle by the coast, it's probably one of the best suburbs to do so, I'd say, in Australia, and definitely probably one of the best with good weather. Look, another suburb I'm actually going to mention here is a suburb called Dicky Beach. It's probably a little bit more of an unknown suburb, I'd say, of the Sunshine Coast. But really, Dicky Beach is a suburb that is very beautiful and very safe. So you can see here, it kind of has very safe waters there. You can see it's kind of like a bay beach, I'd say. It's not a bay beach, it's open to the ocean, but you don't get as much surf and current at Dicky Beach as you do at other beaches on the sunny coast. But the thing about Dicky Beach that everyone probably needs to know is that it's basically all low density. So it's almost entirely, I'd say, houses. Like the vast majority of dwellings in Dicky Beach are houses. So you'll see here, this is just off census in 2021. Houses in terms of separate houses, semi-detached, terrace or townhouses make up literally nearly 90% of the entire dwellings, and only around 10% of the dwellings there are apartments or other dwellings. So what this means is that because it's such low density and it's completely locked and it's actually a very small suburb, what will happen there is that most of the people that live there, and it's already a very tightly held suburb, there won't be actually much stock that turns over there. And you got a lot of families that want to live here because it's low density and has a very good lifestyle. So what happens there is that because there's demand for it and there's such low supply, prices will go up because it's such low density. Not only that too, but if you're investing to lease it out, people love leasing in this suburb because it's such low density. And because it's got such low supply, rent actually does pretty well here. So you're getting into the well into the mid threes for yield generally, sometimes even closer to 4 for a suburb that's literally like closer to $1.5 million, which is quite rare in essence. So definitely a suburb to consider, one that not many people know of in the sunny coast as well. So definitely consider Dicky Beach in that sense. In terms of our most expensive suburbs of the Sunshine Coast, look, really they're probably my two favorite suburbs to buy in the Sunshine Coast. But let's start first of all with a suburb called Bina. So look, Bina is literally just south of Mooloolaba. It's pretty much straight over the Mooloola River, and you can see here that's kind of the headland of just Bina. If you cross the river to the sort of left hand side, or that's in essence that's the northern end of it, that's considered Mooloolaba. So Bina is literally the first suburb south of it. And look, the thing I love about Bina is, again, I'd say, like I said, Dicky Beach, a lot of it really is low density. Obviously towards the headland there, you can see apartments, but most of it, other than that, is low density. And you have some of the most expensive, I'd say, beachfront properties here, or should I say, they're not really beachfront, but they're the street on the other side of the street of the beach. Or beachside, should I say, properties in the sunny coast. And look, it's got pretty much the best demographics of all of the sunny coast. So you'll see here, remember Sydney, Melbourne and Brisbane people, the Sunshine Coast does not have the same demographics as your respective cities, but for the Sunshine Coast, these are very strong demographics. So you'll see median weekly household income of around $1,700 and monthly mortgage repayments of only about $2,150. So look, again, that's only a quarter of an entire month really, and it's basically almost paying for its monthly mortgage repayment. So there's plenty of disposable income here, or discretionary income, should I say, in Bina. So that's the reasons why prices can go up a long way, and it is one of the best pockets of all of the Sunshine Coast as well. So look, in my opinion, it's one you definitely should consider. You can still buy there for around 1.3 and 1.4 million sometimes, but most of the properties are, I'd say, around 1.5 to 1.65 now. So look, for people wanting to invest there as well, it is one of the best suburbs. It has done very well over the last few years, but if you're holding for 30 years plus for an investor, it still will do very well. It doesn't make much of a difference if you hold for the very ultra long term. It makes about a 0.5 to 1% difference depending on where you buy and how much you buy for and all that kind of thing. But definitely a suburb to consider, and it does lease very well as well. The final suburb I want to get into is probably my favorite suburb of all of the Sunshine Coast, and in my opinion, the best to buy in all of the Sunshine Coast, and that is a suburb called Alexandra Headland. Look, Alexandra Headland is basically the suburb between Mooloolaba and Maroochydore. It probably occupies the best, I'd say, lifestyle pocket of all of the sunny coast, being that obviously you're near both Mooloolaba, the Mooloola River and the inlet there, and the Maroochydore River and the inlet there. You've got your walkable distance to the town centre of Maroochydore and Mooloolaba. You've got some beautiful beaches, some really good surf breaks there. And look, there's cafes and restaurants all over the beachfront here too that are really nice too. They don't open as late. Nowhere in the sunny coast really opens as late as Sydney and Melbourne, or even I'd say Bris Vegas or Fortitude Valley for people from Brisbane. But look, really nice suburb, and you know, there's basically everything you'd need here. So this is just off one of the databases that I found basically online. I think it's off Microburbs or something similar from memory. And it just shows you what they rate out of 10 in terms of everything is. So schools 9, public transport 8, local employment opportunities 7, shopping and dining 9, parks and recreation 10, healthcare facilities 8, community spirit 9, safety and crime rate 9, future growth prospects 10. You know, look, as I mentioned with all the previous fundamentals of the Sunshine Coast market, there's pretty much nothing here that is rated badly, not a single thing. So it literally has everything. And look, Alexandra Headland also is going to be one of the suburbs where some Olympic events are going to be hosted. So that's going to only bring more demand to the suburb itself. So definitely consider it. It is my favorite suburb of the entire Sunshine Coast. You need about $1.5 to $1.8 million to purchase there alone. But if you've got that and you want to live or invest in a beachside kind of area of the Sunshine Coast, it is probably, in my opinion, your best suburb to buy in. Look, I like what I've said in recent episodes. I'm actually underway in getting a thing called Premier Properties on my website. So what that'll be is access for people to the best, literally, properties available on the market in some of the best suburbs of Australia that I have, whether that be agents letting me know, whether that be I can see on the market, or even vendors coming to market to me. A lot of these will be all completely off market and just presented to me. So for those people who want to look at that, just go to my website, www.compoundinvest.com.au. And in the coming weeks, you'll see something pop up. My site will change, but you'll see something pop up called Premier Properties. So if you sign up to that, you'll get access to that. And obviously, if you're in the market, we can have a chat about that, and I can get you access to these kinds of properties too. So for those people that are interested in that and genuinely interested in buying in the best suburbs with the best growth fundamentals, I would say please sign up to that, because it will definitely help you in the future. But for everyone who's watched this episode, please subscribe to the channel, and I really appreciate you watching it. And I'll see you guys in the next one. Thanks again.